Takuma Sakamoto is an ugly gamer that sweats all day long in his room while edging himself to a game called Cross Reverie. One day, God finally has enough of his bullshit and ice-skate Takuma so he can finally touch some grass as the strongest demon lord. After going from zero to hero, Takuma goes on to own some sweet chicks in his path. In his cold, dark, stinky room, Takuma enters into a match with two normies. After frying their new brains in the game, Takuma witnesses a blinding light coming from his computer. However, instead of meeting God, Takuma is greeted by smooches from two fatherless furies. Shocked by the fact that he's not standing outside the pearly gates, Takuma lets out a girly scream and realizes that he has transformed into his in-game character, Diablo the Big Bad Demon King. After touching grass for the first time in a long time, Diablo finds himself surrounded by two objects. One of the objects is an elf girl that possesses great talents, and the other girl is a demi-human who looks like she paints her hands with a blade when no one's around. As Diablo picks on their conversation, he realizes that the kiss on his cheek wasn't a wet dream, but a part of a ritual to summon him. Diablo watches the two girls quarrel with each other and reach the conclusion that they must be on their time of the month. But a bigger concern occupies his mind. Since he was a complete loser back in the human world, he starts to worry about how to address the species with 20 chromosomes. All of a sudden, Diablo recalls the encounters he had with female players in the game and tries to address the girls. As he orders the girls to shake hands and make up, a slave collar appears on their necks which force them to abide by Diablo's orders. Surprised by this, they discuss amongst themselves that the slave collar should have appeared on the dusty man they summoned. Diablo overhears this and realizes that the item he gained in his previous match allows him to reflect the magic done upon him. This is why when the fatherless girls casted an enslavement spell on him, his magical ring did an Uno reverse on them instead. However, since he's not an Englishman by birth, Diablo finds it hard being a first-time slave owner and decides to accompany the girls to the city. On their way, the elf girl introduces herself as Shira and the emo girl gives her name as Rem. Diablo gets to know that both of these bottom feeders aspire to become adventurers with his help. Arriving at the border city, Diablo is greeted by cat girls. This instantly gives his heat-seeking missile a rush and a cause to continue hanging out in this messed-up fantasy world. Things further escalate when Diablo is pushed to stay in one room with thick Shira and freaky Rem. However, before his Excalibur can take its full flight, a knock interrupts his fantasies. The group suddenly finds themselves in the presence of Celestine Baudelaire, a MILF without a husband and kids. As Diablo hears the name, he recalls Celestine's position in the game as the head of the Mages Association. In short, an important character that maintains the barrier protecting the town. Celestine reveals that she had graced their pathetic selves a chance to see her because she has business with Rem. But then she notices the slave collars on their necks and states that she would like to know the story behind those kinky collars. Upon sitting down for dinner, Celestine asks Diablo if he can release the girls from the spell. Diablo reveals that if he could, he would have done it a long time ago. His casual way of addressing Celestine pisses off her simp bodyguard who screams at Diablo for the lack of respect. Refusing to be disrespected, Diablo gathers his remaining balls and tells the guard off. The nature of the conversation quickly changes as Rem tells Celestine that she doesn't want any bodyguards. Once Celestine excuses herself for the night, Diablo's gamer instincts start to tingle. Having edged himself to multiple games before, Diablo reaches the conclusion that Rem has a secret which is very important for the plot. Having used enough brain cells, Diablo realizes that it's time for action. He picks Rem up and teases her hypersensitive cat ears until she reveals her secret. It turns out, the soul of the actual demon lord, Krebskulm, is sealed inside her. Rem discloses to Diablo that her ultimate goal is to defeat Krebskulm. Judging from the conversation Celestine had with Rem earlier, Diablo figures out that Rem's death would release Krebskulm's soul, which is a legit concern. As Diablo tells Rem that he'll help her extract Krebskulm's soul, Rem starts to tear up because her father never returned with the milk and her mother got nerfed. Later, as Diablo goes for a walk, he encounters the simp from earlier and his buddies. Wanting revenge for Diablo's arrogance, the simp summons a salamander, hoping to cook Diablo but ends up getting cooked instead with his overgrown lizard as Diablo happens to be level 150. The next day, Diablo finally has his harem moment when he wakes up between Shira and Rem. After getting enough action, Diablo steps out to touch some grass. He observes that the only creatures he has encountered are the ones that possess fluffy ears, tails, or both. As Diablo asks Rem about it, he finds out that they are in a block owned by demi-humans, and in this world, They are ranked by magic levels. Rem informs Diablo that the reason why he and Shira do not have ranks yet is because they haven't registered themselves in the Adventurers Guild. Without further ado, the trio head to the guild where Shira fills out both her and Diablo's form since he's a retarded piece of crap that can't read. The guide then informs Diablo that they'll have to face a magical mirror which will measure their magic strength. Shira goes first and learns that she's a level 30. Next, Diablo faces the mirror, but the mirror goes berserk upon witnessing a face that even a mother can't love. This irregularity causes the guild master, Sylvie, to invite the group for a private chat. Inside her office, Sylvie reveals that Diablo's powers are far more than hers, which is why she doesn't know which quests to assign him. Furthermore, she asks the Demon Lord if he'll be comfortable in taking orders from someone far weaker than her. Since he's a brookie who loves getting humiliated, Diablo states that he doesn't mind such things. Relieved by the statement, Sylvie assigns the group their first mission of hunting down a Madara snake. As the trio heads to the man-eating woods, Diablo inquires about a portal which they can use for teleportation. This causes Shira to burst into laughter as she tells the simple-minded fool that no such thing as teleportation exists. So after walking for 5 hours straight, Diablo realizes that the fantasy world is as shitty as the real world. However, now, in the woods, Shira dumbly says that there are people hiding in the trees. At that moment, Diablo and Rem speculate that they have been tricked by Sylvie. Using his eternal magic, Diablo cooks the entire forest up. As the elves reveal themselves, Shira instantly recognizes the head of the operation as the boy named Celsior. Diablo then finds out that the elven girl he has been treating like a commoner is actually royalty. Celsior implores Shira to return with them, but she refuses, stating that she does not want to marry her brother. As Celsior tries to put up a fight, Diablo easily shows them who the main character is by kicking the shit out of them. Shira then tells Celsior to relay her message to her brother that she is not interested in marriage. Then out of nowhere, Galak enters the scene. Diablo puts 2 and 2 together and realizes that Galak used the Maids Association name to paint him as an enslaver in order to instigate the elves against him. It wasn't Sylvie after all. Later that night, Diablo finds himself alone with Shira, and his inner cherry boy starts to worry about one-on-one interaction with a female. Shira takes charge and reveals that she wants to be chosen by him and she would be greatly disappointed if he picks Rem. Turns out, Shira is not as dumb as she looks as she uses her talents to cloud Diablo's brain. As the Demon Lord finally gets to touch something, a negative energy suddenly starts to surround the area. Upon looking at the door, Diablo realizes the bad energy is coming from Rem's pancakes. The next day, Diablo and the girls are summoned by God's most hated creation, Sylvie. The guild master informs the group that she has a special commission for Diablo only. At first her request is met with raised eyebrows, but Sylvie assures them that the job is legit as it is directly from the head of the Maids Association, Celestine. Diablo deduces that this must be reparations for the incident with Galak and thinks about accepting the job, but Rem, being the MO of the group, says that she is not going to go with them on this job. She tries to justify her reason by stating that she doesn't want to accept any favors from Celestine, especially not when a high reward is involved. Upon reading the job description, Shira and Diablo learn that they just have to bring refreshments to the city of Ulug, which should be quite easy for them. Just as they're about to leave for their journey, a man straight out of a L'Oreal commercial stops Diablo to ask if he's the infamous ugly demon lord that is going around rizzing chicks of all shapes and sizes. Diablo internally recoils in horror upon hearing all the rumors that have painted him as a badass Chad. As Diablo asks the dumbass to introduce himself before running his mouth, he comes to know that the man with shiny hair and armor is known as the greatest adventurer, Emil. With that, he does a JoJo pose and asks Diablo for a fight. Seeing the stance, Diablo gets excited, but upon fighting Emil, he swats him away like a mosquito. Regaining himself, Emil states that his spirits will not be broken as he fights for the honor of women. Upon hearing this, Rem and Shira stop the fight, informing Emil that he's fighting for a non-existent cause as they are for the streets. After learning the full truth, Emil laughs and walks away. With no loser in their way, Diablo and Shira resume their journey, but on the way, they start to get bored and wish for trouble. Arriving at Ulug, Diablo encounters a group of guards who sees him because of his ugly homeless appearance. They ask him if he's a Fallen, which surprises Diablo as Fallen are treated as boss monsters in the game. Upon inquiring, Diablo and Shira find out that a group of 100 Fallens are headed towards them, which is why everyone is so scared. Shira expresses her worry over the situation and asks Diablo about what will happen to the city. He thinks to himself that in no time the city will be flattened by the monsters, as it's clear to him that people in this world have lower levels and weaker skills than the player's characters in the game, but he tells Shira that the Fallen shouldn't be able to enter Faltra with Celestine's barrier protecting them. Shira then informs him that lately Fallen have been acting up in hopes of reviving the Demon King Krebskull. Just when Diablo thinks about tucking his tail between his legs and running away, Shira gives him the puppy dog eyes. At that moment, he realizes that even if he has to kill 20 losers for Shira, he will, so the Fallen are no big deal. Soon the Fallen arrive and Diablo steps up to face the monsters. In the meantime, Rem is greeted by Celestine, who apologizes for Galak's mistakes and then asks Rem to consider the possibility of Diablo being a Fallen that is attracted by what lurks inside her. Rem quickly dismisses the idea and says that if Diablo wanted her, he had plenty of opportunities to do so. All of a sudden, Galak arrives looking frantic. Realizing that he has become a menace to society, Rem summons a snake to apprehend him, but then Galak turns into a Fallen. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, Diablo finally meets the fatherless lancer of the Fallen, Edelgard. The Fallen laughs as he mocks the barrier created by Celestine, revealing how easy it was to trick Galak into paving the way for him. While Celestine and Rem are supposed to be strong, independent women, they decide that the best option for them right now is to run like there's no tomorrow. As the Karens find themselves trapped like rats, Emil and the adventurers step up to rescue them. During the fight, the Fallen laughs as he watches the humans struggle. He then introduces himself as Gregor, a sorcerer from the man-eating woods that loves to plunge warriors into the depth of despair. As Emil tries to use his sword on him, Gregor casually reveals that he is also a gym bro and deals Emil some great damage. Meanwhile, on the other hand, the Edelgard faces the Demon Lord with a powerful move called Sacrificial Charge, but Diablo remains unharmed. Seeing Edelgard all sweaty and stinky, Diablo tells her to take a shower and then attend some practicing classes so she knows how to be a better fighter. Just then, Diablo gets the news that Celestine is being pounded by a Fallen along with a cat woman. Diablo has enough of everyone's bullshit and decides to wipe the Fallen and tramp Lancer once and for all by unleashing a powerful attack that leaves the area barren. Once the dust settles, Diablo sees Edelgard is still alive but badly wounded. Realizing that there's no way she will attack him now that she is in her birthday suit, Diablo and Shira make their way to Celestine and Rem with return magic. Arriving on the scene, Diablo acknowledges Emil's efforts to guard and protect the ladies and tells him to rest as he is here to face the monster. After yapping like typical MCs, Diablo finally seals the ugly bastard in a dimension of darkness. As the girls hug him to thank Diablo for saving them, Diablo states that since he owns them, he would of course save them. Instead of acting like blue-haired Karens, Rem expresses her happiness over being owned like a dog. Later that day, a funeral is held for those that got eaten by the Fallen like pathetic noobs. Diablo realizes that this world is nothing like the game, as once you're nerfed forever. Sometimes later, Sylvie barges in to inform Diablo that the Lord of Faltra City has received demands from the Elven Kingdom for Shira to be handed over. Sylvie then informs Diablo, Shira and Rem that for their next quest, they must prevent a war from breaking out. This surprises Shira as she didn't think she was worth waging war over. To make matters worse, Sylvie also reveals that Shira's brother has put out a huge bounty for her head. This upsets Diablo so much that he starts to look like he is constipated. All riled up, he assures Shira to walk proudly with her chin up as he won't let anyone hurt her. Pleased to hear this, Shira rewards Diablo by hugging him. On their way, Sylvie informs Diablo that the Lord of the City is revered as a hero who saved Faltra from the Demon Lord 30 years ago. It was said that he fought on the front lines and defeated several Fallen single-handedly. Sylvie then warns Diablo to be careful of the Lord since he hates ugly losers like him. Arriving at Lord Galford's estate, Sylvie lets out a hesitant greeting and informs him that Diablo has accepted the quest. Throughout the conversation, Diablo looks like he is holding back the mean urge to take a massive dump. Galford then stands up and introduces himself to the pathetic lot. Since Diablo was a loser in his past life with no social skills, he ends up messing up his introduction, but luckily, Galford ignores it and briefs him on the mission, stating that the only reason why he has appointed someone as ugly as him is because he doesn't want his own men to die. Galford then asks Shira why she is hell-bent on hanging out with the broke crowd when she can chill in her kingdom. Shira reveals that she's a typical rich brat that now wants to experience the homeless life in order to discover her true self. Not giving a crap about Shira's rant, Galford reveals that an Imperial Knight, Alicia Cristella, was dispatched to help them in the matter. It turns out that in the game, Imperial Knights were considered as true elites. After being acquainted with Alicia, the group is kicked out of Galford's manor. Diablo decides to buy himself a weapon. During their shopping trip, a group of bounty hunters manage to lay hands on Shira. During the chase, Diablo gets help from Emil, who aids him in catching the kidnappers. After warning the group to stay active, Emil takes his leave. Shira uses this opportunity to become the #1 waifu, and asks Diablo if she can hold hands with him until the mission is over. In a pub, Celestine greets the group and reveals that she might find a way to remove their collars soon. Alicia steps in and reminds the lot that resolving the dispute between Shira and the Elven Kingdom is much more important than any other matter. Diablo smugly replies back by saying that he can easily tackle 2 birds with 1 stone. Arriving at the market, Diablo's filthy mind starts cooking up images of girls getting some action. He quickly reminds himself that if he doesn't control his bald Avenger soon, he might end up blowing his cover of the big bad demon lord. As the lot enters a tent, Diablo witnesses a cat paradise. He is then greeted by the owner, Medios, who looks like she eats 20 men for breakfast. Medios takes a good look at Diablo and reveals that he possesses great strength in him. Diablo cuts to the chase and tells Medios that he wants her to teach him the method of removing the collars. In the midst of the conversation, Medios asks Rem if she is expecting a demon baby, as she can detect a negative energy coming out of her. Diablo quickly shuts down Medios and asks her to stay on the subject of removing the collars. Rem finds herself burdened by the conversation and retires outside, where Alicia comes to check up on her. Knowing what troubles Rem, she sympathizes with her, revealing that she knows how burdening it can be to keep secrets. Meanwhile, in the tent, Medios teaches Diablo a freaky ritual on how to remove the collar from Shira, but before Diablo could reach his goal, he ends up missing his target, causing the ritual to break. Later, he reveals to Rem and Alicia that while he can now see the magic flow, it is hard to entangle the threads of magic that are attached to the collar. All of a sudden, the group hears a sweet melody produced by a flute. Shira's eyes widen in fear as she comes face to face with an elf. The elf then introduces himself as Shira's older brother, the first prince of the Kingdom of Greenwood, Kira L. Greenwood. Diablo, wanting to be a white knight, confronts Shira's ugly brother on his recent orders. However, Kira plays dumb, stating that he only placed a bounty on Shira's head so he can meet the man who has been guarding his little sister. As for the waging a war, it was all his father's orders, since he was so concerned for his daughter. Shira quickly calls on Kira's bluff, but Kira insists that losing her made him realize his wrongdoing, so he would truly respect her decision to stay with the homeless ugly kids if that is what she truly wants. Later that night, Shira and Rem have a deep heart-to-heart where Shira reveals her dream of opening a cafe with her friends. Rem smiles at Shira's foolish dream, knowing that she could never actually open a cafe. Meanwhile, in the heart of a forest, Kira laughs as he plans on doing the deed with Shira. In his childhood, Takuma was pretty much a loser that was used and discarded by his peers. As a result, he grew up as a loner. So to make up for giving Takuma a pretty sad childhood, God rewards him with a harem moment that is still a dream for many cherry boys out there. Later, Alicia and Rem informs Diablo and Shira that they are leaving to inform Sylvie, Celestine, and Galford about their encounter with Kira, who is actually a pretty decent dude, and that they no longer have to worry about him. Left alone with Shira, Diablo decides to make potions. However, he finds himself confused with mixing the ingredients. He then finds the help that he's looking for by getting a glimpse of Shira's talents. As Shira compliments him on his ability of making potions, Diablo gives her an ugly smile, which makes Shira's heart go doki doki, as she has shitty taste in men. Shira tells Diablo that he looks cute when he smiles, which makes Diablo wonder if perhaps in the future he might be able to talk to people. Then out of nowhere, Shira's tone does a complete 360 and she tells Diablo that she is going back home with her brother. After she leaves, Diablo informs Rem and Alicia. With that, he retires to his room, where he wonders if all those moments with Shira was even real. Seeing Diablo sulk like a pathetic crybaby, Rem asks him how long he plans on throwing a pity party, as Shira doesn't seem the type to lie to them. In fact, she is too damn retarded to do so. In the meantime, Diablo plays his old memories like a broken record and struggles to make a decision on saving Shira. Rem tells Diablo that Shira is their friend, which finally gives Diablo the motivation. In the meantime, Kira plans on getting all cozy with his sister. He reveals that he used the secret art of the Elven Kingdom to override her will, using his flute. With that, Kira sends a fabric burning slime towards Shira. As her clothes start to burn, Shira begs for Diablo to save her, and right in the moment of climax, Diablo and his harem barges in. After destroying Kira's forces, Diablo tells Kira that he knows about his manipulation tactics and should have never let him take Shira. However, instead of backing down, Kira once more overwrites Shira's will and makes her tell Diablo that she wants to be with her brother instead of him. Knowing that Shira isn't a messed up brother lover, Diablo uses the collar to his favor and commands Shira to reveal her true feelings. After seconds of struggle, Shira tells everyone that she wants to be truly free and travel on her own accord with Rem and Diablo, her true friends. Since Kira can't take no for an answer, he goes all crazy over not being able to love his own sister. He then declares that if he can't enjoy his sister's thick thighs, then he will simply destroy the world. With that, he summons a Force Hydra. Shira warns Diablo to hide as there is no way his pathetic existence can defeat the Elven Kingdom's trump card. Watching the Hydra with multiple heads, Diablo thinks to himself that the creature can easily give multiple whacks at a time. Shira yells at him to snap out of it and reveals that the Hydra has been in the royal family for centuries and is known as the guardian deity for elves. Upon a closer look, Diablo realizes that he has never seen such a summon in Cross Reverie before. In the end, Diablo decides to slay the beast in order to avail the premium whack the beast has to offer. As Diablo launches an attack on the Hydra, he realizes that the monster contains the ability of regeneration. Moreover, the Hydra can throw attacks of ice, sand, wind, and fire. Realizing that he will get yeeted out like this, Diablo tries to think of a way out of this mess. Thanks to the shitty plot in Shira, Diablo learns that the Hydra has a core which he can destroy. However, Diablo's worries are far from over as Kira says that it won't be easy to destroy the beast's core as it moves around constantly in the Hydra's body. Diablo comes to the conclusion that no whack is worth it and uses a high-level spell to kill the Hydra. Well, that was disappointing. With the fight wrapped up, Kira asks Diablo the same question every loser villain asks. Just who is this guy with a shitty cloak, wielding massive powers? Diablo then smugly reveals that he is a chaotic demon lord from another world that no one can control. Hearing that shitty introduction, Kira cringes hard and decides to run when all of a sudden, he gets beheaded lol. Galford reveals himself with an army of knights. He states that since Kira was so ugly, he couldn't tolerate him. Galford then orders his troops to capture the princess and exterminate the remaining elven forces. Diablo realizes that he has been played hard by Galford as the Lord's real motive was to capture Greenwood. As Galford puts Diablo in a prison for ugly rats, he is opposed by Alicia who tries to stop him. In a blink of an eye, Galford breaks Alicia's sword and tells her to stand back. Diablo, on the other hand, concentrates on the barrier's magic flow and is able to break it. A fight ensues between Galford and Diablo. During the action, Diablo realizes that Galford is the strongest opponent he has faced since he came into this world. But no one stands a chance against him and in the end, Diablo wins. After tasting a bitter defeat, Galford asks Diablo to kill him. However, Diablo tells him that he is truly not interested in killing a fat pig like him as he does not want to put a dent on his sword. Hurt by the insult, Galford replies back by saying that he will rat him out to the king and get him beheaded in no time. During the heated debate, Alicia steps forward and tells Galford that he won't do no such thing as she is going to report to the king herself. Finally, Galford surrenders and orders his units to stand back. After several days, Diablo reflects on the recent events. Shira had been a complete wreck after the death of Kira because that she ended up developing Stockholm Syndrome. Luckily, Rem was there to remind Shira that she is a strong independent woman. During this whole time, Diablo finds himself lazing around until Sylvie decides to help him up by giving Diablo some booze. During the drinking session, Diablo loses his cool and mistakes Sylvie for a body pillow. What happens next is a story for Sylvie's therapist. After finally recovering from his depression, Diablo watches Shira summon a cute bird. Rem informs her that the bird is called a turkey shot which possesses the ability of synchro sight. The emo-cat also reveals that the reason why she taught her how to summon a stupid bird is because she is a stupid idiot who might get lost one day but she can use the turkey shot to get herself help. Satisfied by the answer, Shira performs a bonding spell with the bird. After that, Shira notices the smell of tuna coming from Rem. She then decides that they all definitely need to wash off the dirt and give the creeps watching them a good show. Once the girls give enough entertainment to the audience, Diablo hears a loud scream and finds Rem in Edelgard's captivity. She reveals that is not here to fight, but because someone informed her about the spirit of the demon lord summoned inside Rem. And after touching her, she now knows that the news was true. Since Shira is the only one who is not in the group chat, she asks Rem what the hell fatherless Barbie is talking about. After a moment of hesitation, Rem reveals that the soul of the demon lord Krebskulm is sealed inside of her. As Shira learns of Rem's secret, she goes quiet, which makes Rem feel guilty. She apologizes to the elf for not telling her earlier by reasoning with her that she didn't want her to bear the burden of the secret. All of a sudden, Shira hugs Rem and says that she might be the weak link of the group, but she wants to help her when she is in trouble, as they are friends after all. Edelgard gets tired of all the cringe and cuts to the chase by asking Rem if she wishes to defeat the Demon Lord. As Rem reveals her true intentions of defeating Krebskull, she asks Edelgard why she did not kill her upon seeing her. Edelgard reveals that the Demon Lord's soul is fragile, so she can't kill her yet. Moreover, she cryptically says that the Demon Lord is not complete. Diablo, who had been observing the scene, asks Edelgard if she knows how to fully revive the Demon Lord. Edelgard states that she does know the procedure and the resurrection ritual would pose no risk to Rem's life. In fact, Rem would be treasured as the oven who baked their beloved Demon Lord. Edelgard realizes that Diablo doesn't trust her, so she then tells him that he can perform the ritual himself, and the Fallen won't touch him. Diablo thinks to himself that since they also want to revive the Demon Lord, their end goal is the same. However, the problem lies in whether he can defeat Krebskull afterwards. After some calculations, Diablo agrees to learn the ritual, stating that he will kill the fake Demon Lord once he is out. Edelgard tells him that the Demon Lord, Krebskull, is the real shit, and beating him won't be possible. Diablo then reminds her if she remembers how she was stripped the last time they fought. Pouting, Edelgard says that she will wait for him 3 days from now. The group retires to a pub where they are greeted by Alicia, who tells them to immediately return to their inn. She informs them that there is a paladin by the name of Sadler in the town. This should worry them because Sadler is on level 100 and believes the gang to be a bunch of Illuminati. And if it's one thing that Sadler hates the most, it's demon worshippers. Just when Diablo thinks to himself that perhaps it's his fate to stay cooped inside, the group encounters Sadler and his group of paladins. Diablo thinks to himself that he must act normal since he has to meet up with Edelgard. So once Sadler asks for an introduction, Diablo proudly announces that he is the Demon Lord, like a complete buffoon. Sadler let out a laugh but quickly turns stern and tells Alicia that she should not be hanging out with emos who call themselves Demon Lords. As Sadler directs a petrification spell towards the Demon Lord, Diablo uses his magic reflection to turn Sadler into a statue. Later, the group debates on whether they should tell Alicia about the whole Demon Lord revival plan. Diablo reminds the girls that Alicia might be a nice girl, but she is still an Imperial Knight who wouldn't be able to overlook the revival Krebskull. After doing some quick girl math, Rem and Shira reject logics and embrace stupidity as they tell Diablo that Alicia is their friend who deserves to know. In the end, Rem reveals the truth to Alicia, who cries for her and gives Rem a hug. Diablo, witnessing the scene, suspects that something is terribly wrong. Arriving at the Starfall Tower where he was first summoned, Diablo is greeted by Edelgard, who reveals that she has already drawn the magic circle and preparations for the ritual have been completed. Edelgard also informs the lot that the ritual will pour strong magic power into the Demon Lord's soul, which would fasten up her resurrection. Before going through the process, Rem reveals to Diablo that she doesn't trust the Fallen but trusts a medium ugly loser like him and begs him to save her from this fate. Diablo tells her that since she thinks he's ugly, she can go seek help from the 6 feet Chad. However, after a moment of consideration, Diablo decides to save her after all. Edelgard guides Diablo to perform the ritual, and soon enough the dark energy residing inside Rem is released into the world. But once the smoke settles, everyone witnesses the great Demon Lord, who is actually a lowly and a really stupid one. Krebskull laughs as she says that she will burn the whole world down, but when Shira tells her that she can't do so, Krebskull behaves like an obedient child and listens to Shira. Diablo observes Krebskull and reaches the conclusion that he will be caught in 4K if anyone sees him simping for her. As Shira hands Krebskull some biscuits, the Demon Lord realizes that her true purpose in this world is to munch on some Scooby snacks. While heading towards home, the group encounters an ugly Fallen by the name of Ulrich, who greets the Demon Lord and reveals that he has served generations of Demon Lords. Edelgard reveals that Ulrich is the strongest Fallen amongst them and also the oldest. The ugly creature then tells Krebskull that he will celebrate her revival by killing all the mortals, but the Demon Lord strictly tells him not to do so as she won't be able to have Scooby snacks. Ulrich seems surprised by this and tells Krebskull that they are supposed to kill humans since humans bad. However, when he sees no sign of intelligence on Krebskulm's face, he lunges to attack her, stating that he will complete her resurrection. Edelgard quickly moves to protect Krebskulm, scolding Ulrichs for acting out of line and disobeying the Demon Lord's wish. As Ulrichs tries to kill Edelgard, Diablo steps in to counter-attack Ulrichs. After fighting with Diablo, Ulrichs realizes it's best to escape for now. As the group heads to the city, Shira gives Krebskulm a new alias, Clem. Later that night, Alicia reflects on the events and reaches the conclusion that she needs the Demon Lord to fulfill her purpose of killing all mortals. Elsewhere, the spell of petrification finally wears off as Sadler plans on seeking revenge for his humiliation. While cruising the town, Shira and Clem sing a stupid song and ask Rem to join them. As Rem joins them, Alicia makes a bitter face as she is not invited to sing with them. Later, Diablo meets with Celestine and updates her on everything. She smiles and says that a demon lord who eats like a pig is no threat to them and excuses herself. While walking, Diablo tells Shira that Celestine probably didn't want to capture Clem since she can't leave the town and has to maintain a barrier over the place. Meanwhile, in a shady alleyway, Alicia drags Clem and tells Rem that she was planning on bringing Shira too, as she doesn't know what will be the key to unlocking some goddamn brain cells in Clem's brain. She turns to Clem and asks her why she is missing her memories. As Alicia reveals her plans of bringing back Clem's memories, Rem asks her what is wrong with her. Alicia states that she was never interested in befriending their ugly dirt poor group and now she can stop pretending. Clem, unaware of what is going on, tells Alicia that she is not being cute right now and if she doesn't stop, she will burn her down. Alicia unleashes level 10 psychotic face and tells Clem to burn her as she wants the great demon lord to cleanse the world from mortals. After hearing more deranged crap from Alicia, Rem realizes that she was the one who urged Gallic to go batshit crazy. Then out of nowhere, Saddle and his group of brainwashed losers arrive to apprehend Alicia, but the girl cunningly says she was working as an undercover cop and she found out that Rem and her group is in fact the Illuminati. Saddle, not having a brain, attacks Rem. After some time, Rem regains consciousness and finds herself locked up in a cage with Clem, who tells her that she heard from Alicia that she suffered because of her. Rem reveals just how painful and lonely it has been. Hearing Rem, Clem tells her to dye her hair blue and get some tattoos if she is that traumatized. However, after talking some more, the girls realize that they are a lot similar to each other, and spent most of their life in insulation over something they had no control over. Sadler brings Rem to his mother's basement and says that he will start torturing her. Clem asks Rem if she needs help, but Rem tells her to remember the promise they made. Sadler then tortures and kills Rem, causing Clem to go berserk. After becoming the Demon Lord, Clem blinds Sadler and shows him just how delulu he has been, as he was no god. Edelgard, accompanied by Ulrichs and a group of fallen, head towards the Faltra. Alicia greets them and Edelgard discloses to Ulrichs how Alicia was the orchestrator behind the whole plan. In the meantime, Celestine tries her best to protect the barrier and keep the fallen away from the city. Soon enough, Diablo and Shira arrive to fight against Clem in her Demon Lord form. Observing her moves, Diablo realizes that the Clem they had known is long gone. In the meantime, Shira feeds Rem multiple healing potions. Luckily, Rem, having 9 lives, comes back to tell Shira that Alicia was an evil rat that caused all this chaos. In the meantime, Diablo gets help by Emil in fighting Clem. He uses his most powerful spell on the Demon Lord, but no, that's not what brings back Clem. It is the promise of dog biscuits that wakes Clem up. Later, Sylvie comes to apprehend Clem, but Diablo manages to save her by putting a collar on Clem. Did someone get it in 4K as that ugly creep kissed Clem? After returning to their chambers, Shira gets attacked by Alicia, who begs Clem to heal Edelgard, revealing that she got punished by other fallen for failing to kill mortals. With Diablo's permission, Clem heals Edelgard. Later, Alicia tells the group that they can punish her as they wish, but Rem asks her to reveal her traumatic past so they can understand better what caused her to be so ugly and twisted. Alicia recalls her past and says that she was always surrounded by selfish humans and felt alone. Hearing this, Diablo thinks to himself how he was also a loner, shut-in loser that despised others. As Alicia is about to eat herself, Diablo stops her and gives her a whole lecture. With this, Diablo manages to score another mid-girl in his harem. That's it for today, my fellow men of culture. Like and subscribe to the channel for more plot-filled recaps.